We treat personal finance like engineering. We assume if we master the mechanics and plug numbers into a spreadsheet, we reach a predictable destination. Because we view finance as a math problem, we expect the smartest people to make the best choices. Yet history shows that some of the most brilliant minds in finance have steered their firms straight into catastrophic ruin. Meanwhile, people with no financial training, janitors and average earners, quietly build fortunes that often dwarf the net worth of high-earning professionals. This happens because we try to solve a behavioral problem with a mathematical toolkit. Fear, greed, and ego don't show up in a calculator, but they determine our bank balance. Doing well with money depends on how you act, far more than how smart you are. It requires managing a psychological framework built on perspective, ego, and endurance. Every financial choice makes perfect sense to the person making it, because our worldview is forged by the era we happen to grow up in. Someone who saw their parents in a breadline during the Great Depression will always view risk differently than someone who grew up during a boom. A person shaped by a decade of prosperity develops an aggressive optimism that seems reckless to someone shaped by scarcity. Both are simply using the map of the world they were given. This personal history is complicated by luck and risk, two forces so powerful they can make identical decisions produce polar opposite results. In 1968, Bill Gates attended one of the only high schools on Earth with a computer terminal. He was brilliant and hardworking, but he also benefited from a massive stroke of timing. Having access to this specific computer terminal gave him thousands of hours of programming experience at a time when most colleges didn't even have one. Without that lucky geography, the world might never have heard of Microsoft. Because luck plays such a heavy role in our final numbers, we should stop judging success by its outcome and start judging it by the quality of the decisions that led there. The ego craves visible riches, but a flashy luxury car is actually a public display of how much money has been removed from a person's net worth. Real wealth is what you don't see. It is the unspent capital sitting quietly in an account, providing options that haven't been exercised yet. The ego actively fights this by moving the goalposts. Every time we reach a financial milestone, our desires expand to ensure that enough remains just out of reach. Millionaires have risked their entire fortunes chasing a few million more they didn't actually need, and lost it all. They forgot that the most important financial skill is getting the goalposts to stop moving. Neutralizing the ego requires defining what enough looks like in writing. When you stop saving for status, you start saving for flexibility and freedom. Getting money requires taking risks and being optimistic, but keeping money requires a completely different skill: humility. You have to accept that your success could be temporary and plan for things to go wrong. Look at the math of compounding returns. For decades, the progress looks flat and unremarkable. It feels like nothing is happening. Most people quit their strategy out of boredom here, just before the exponential curve takes over. They walk away as the heavy lifting begins. Warren Buffett is a master of this endurance. Over 99% of his net worth was generated after he turned 50. He didn't find a secret formula. He just stayed invested longer than anyone else. To survive this long, you need a margin of error. You must build a plan that can withstand market crashes and personal emergencies without forcing you to sell your investments. A good enough plan that you can stubbornly follow for 30 years will always outperform a perfect plan that you abandon in a panic. Long-term planning is harder than it looks because we change as we age. A rigid goal set by a 25-year-old can easily become a cage for the 45-year-old they eventually become. The ultimate value of money is the ability to wake up and say, I can do whatever I want today. That control over your own time is the highest dividend money pays. Invisible wealth provides the power to say no to a bad boss, the patience to wait out a recession, and the freedom to move when a real opportunity appears. This architecture is built on patience and humility. It requires the discipline to keep going when the math feels boring and the world feels unpredictable. Wealth is accessible to anyone who realizes the game is about how you act, not how smart you are.